everyone, welcome back to my channel. Do you know what company most people are eager to join in Bay Area right now? Some people might say Anthropic. After the new round of funding, their valuation has soared to extraordinary level. That makes me curious which people can successfully join the company, what experience, what skills set them apart. I will introduce an interview with Ian, and I met him during a founder dinner. He worked like a freelancer software engineer. He tried to build 2 startups, and he also has a YouTube channel. So today, let's talk with Ian and see what else he wants to share with us and what makes him outstanding from all these applicants for Anthropic. Hi everyone, this is Aubrey. Welcome back to Before Exit. I'm sitting with Ian Sinnott, and he has Anthropic on his resume, but that's just one small piece of his past. Ian, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Ian. I did start 2 companies, both of which didn't work out. I have a non-traditional background in a sense. I don't have a CS degree, but I ended up working in software engineering. And now I currently work at Anthropic, and that is very exciting.
So Ian, so you mentioned that you don't have an engineering degree, but you ended with maybe the best AI company in this world. How do you choose your path from non-CS degree and to Anthropic?
Yeah, totally unplanned, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
At the time, obviously, there was no Anthropic, there was no plan of any sort. There was just figure it out as I go. So I started out with an economics degree, and I didn't know what to do with that. So I decided to do some traveling. When I was traveling, I met 2 of the most impactful relationships of my life. But one of them was someone who I met. I wasn't sure what to do, what I was into, but someone I met said, "Oh, I'm building WordPress sites. I'm just writing code, and I make some money and I get to travel around." And so for me, that was a moment that totally shifted my life, because I asked him, "What do you do? How do you do this?" And so he wrote down a list of 4 things that I needed to go do.
Oh, and you just follow that too? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty high level. It's like you learn some WordPress, PHP, some jQuery, and here's the websites you go to find customers. So over the course of a few months, I did that, and that became my job. I was living abroad. I was working for companies abroad. Nothing like work in Silicon Valley, but it all led to Silicon Valley. So, yeah.
So compared to the people who always in Silicon Valley, they immerse themselves in this tech company environments, what kind of advantage do you have by living in Taiwan? Also, what is the disadvantage of that?
Yeah, I think the disadvantages are maybe more obvious. Like if you're not working in semiconductors, why? Why are you there? Anywhere you want to live. Yeah. You can ask yourself, why? Why am I here? So Silicon Valley is a clear why. The investors are here, the talent is here, there's so many people, there's so many networking opportunities. But in Taiwan, the why for me was that I just liked the lifestyle. It was not about work, it was not about career. So that was a disadvantage for a career though. I would say the advantage, not specific to Taiwan, is that you get a more broad sense of how the world uses technology when you live abroad. For instance, no one I know from college uses Facebook whatsoever. So maybe if I hadn't lived abroad, I might think Facebook is very much on the decline. But if you go abroad, it's essentially the internet for some people. Facebook is still extremely popular in many parts of the world. Oh. So that's just a concrete example of how technology is operating in the broader human sphere when you live abroad.
That makes sense. So it gives comprehensive views of because the world is too big. It's not just US, not just Silicon Valley. There are so many human needs outside here. Yeah. You mentioned that the reason you choose a software engineer because it gives you the freedom to travel and do your own things, and it allows you to do the remote work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Software engineering also has one thing that going for it, or it has many things, but the fact that you can learn software and then use it the next day, like the same day, something that appealed to me so much. Coming from, I studied economics. So if you learn a new economic model, what are you going to go do? Are you going to go join the Fed tomorrow and try to implement economic policy? You can't do it. It's not as immediately
So
actionable.
You can see it as like impacting people's life.
Yeah.
Right?
Immediate impact.
Great. And how do you feel work remotely compared to people work in office? Like, because right now, you go to office every day, because you live in SF, right?
Yeah.
And then previously, you live like 10,000 miles away. So how that feel?
Oh, I like working in person. We were just talking about this, that I'm more on the extroverted side.
Yeah.
I like to be around people. And so working remotely was a bit of a struggle in many ways. And I also I believe that it is more productive to work in person. Obviously, there's the time which can be very unproductive, but there's so many conversations and so many interactions you can have that you won't have online because it takes proactivity. Someone has to reach out if you're in Slack or you're over email, but if you're just walking through a hallway and someone else is walking the other way, then you can just talk.
Yeah,
Things
so
can happen.
Yeah, you mentioned you try to build this company. Like, if you build a company, will you prefer the working remotely mode for your employees, or you will say, oh, let me rent an office for them?
Yeah, I would. I like hybrid approaches, which is actually what we do as well. Not everyone is in the office 5 days a week, but I think it's useful to have some regular connection with your coworkers. Like, many remote companies will do every quarter, but I think much more often is very helpful because of those serendipitous interactions.
You work as a freelancer. I'm curious, like, how do you make sure you got the advanced skill? And because today what's happening is everyone, when they think about switch job, they think about Anthropic. So I assume the competition of getting a job there is so high.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that you stay competitive with all these people applying this same job?
I think an unsurprising answer would be that who you know and where you've worked in the past is going to be extremely important.
Oh, the connections.
The connections. Yeah, because there are so many applicants. So how does a company sort through all the applicants?
Yeah.
It's often through recommendations, through referrals. And so who you know and who you worked with, if there's someone that'll say to a hiring manager or say to a recruiter, if you don't hire this person, I'm leaving. That's the kind of person that a company will interview. Yeah.
That's it. Because I feel like with AI, the interview is, I would say, it's more difficult for the company because previously you can use the algorithm problem, saying, oh, who get this answer faster, the better approach, then I hire him.
It is. I think recruiting is I want to say an unsolved problem, or the solutions we have don't scale, and there's no, or at least I'm not aware of any way to scale that because there's a huge element of human trust and human intuition and taste when it comes to choosing who you work with.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult. Although I guess what a very actionable thing people can do, and what I tried to do, and how I went from building WordPress sites to working as a software engineer, was to try to work with people that you just admire and respect. Try to work with the best people you can find. Try to work on the hardest problems you can find. And just do that indefinitely.
Makes sense. So talking about your founder experience, like I assume like you have been developing the code and you building the product, and maybe one day you think, oh, I have this problem in my life, let me solve it. Is that the case? Can you tell us more?
Yeah, a bit like that. Also a bit of just, I guess, the hubris of being young and coming out of Silicon Valley and thinking, I can definitely start a startup, and just imagining that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that, so I started two companies. One of them was teaching people how to code before AI existed, and the other one was essentially a Notion competitor. It was a document and note-taking app. And in both cases...
When was that, the two company?
One was 2019. That was the teaching the code.
Okay.
And the other one was 2021. So
I feel like the timing, like where you build a company, is actually right timing. Because 2019 is, the coding is still hot. Like the software engineer got a so high salary.
Yeah,
and then 2021, the organizing, like when was Notion was built? I think maybe also.
It was early. I think it was like 2016, but it took them they had a long, slow ramp to get going.
So it's a good market. And then what is succeeding, what is failing with those companies?
So it unfortunately took me 2 tries to learn the lessons. I feel the lessons all came the first time, but I didn't realize them.
Yeah.
And so the 3 big lessons were founder selection. I'm still friends with the 2 different people that I founded these companies with. So there's nothing against them personally, but it wasn't a good fit for building this particular company. We didn't have good company founder fit in the
Is
2 of us.
that you have overlap, like a profession, or like it's because you have a conflicting business idea?
We had some conflicting ideas, but I think the most important thing was we didn't have complementary skill sets.
Are you all like software engineer?
Yeah, it was not great. The other one was market selection, teaching people how to code or learning to code. If you learn to code, you can command a 6-figure salary at the time. And the hiring market was a lot different back then. It was a lot hotter. So there was this clear reason why you would want to learn how to code if you didn't already know. But because it was so obvious, there are also tons of solutions in this space. So it was a crowded space, and we didn't know how to do distribution. We didn't know how to go to market. So that was market selection was number 2, and number 3 was distribution, going to market.
During your time building these two companies, were you in Taiwan or in here?
Yeah, I was in Taiwan.
Okay.
I was in Taiwan the whole time.
Okay.
Like I said, I was there for the lifestyle, so I wasn't there because I thought it'd be good for the company. It was just where I was living at the time.
Do you feel like if you live in Silicon Valley, your company might succeed? Have you ever had that in mind?
I honestly never thought of this question. That's a good question. I don't know the answer because so much can happen in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Actually, when I used to live here the first time, I met someone who sold their company to Hack Reactor, I believe.
Yeah. And in order to promote your product, your company, you start building this YouTube channel. And can you tell us more what the channel about and how that is helping with your company?
Yeah, so after the second company didn't work out, I finally learned the lessons, or learned some of these lessons that I need to know how to distribute. I need to have some way to distribute. There has to be some way to get traction. And so if you have a YouTube channel, say, that is one way that you can get people to understand that you exist in the first place. So it wasn't for any specific company. I just thought, let's go start a YouTube channel because it's different, it's non-technical. I'm not going to get lost in coding up some solution that no one cares about. I'm just going to do something totally different, which is start a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And my approach was to just get the reps. To just make videos, that was it. I had no theme. A lot of the videos are about AI, but it was just to make videos. That was it.
Gotcha. So do you feel like it's easier to have people love your video, or it's easier to have people love your company, your startup?
You know, I suppose it would help if you had people love your video first, because then they would know that your startup exists.
Yeah.
Or you could do many different different channels to get traction, but
yeah,
if they know you exist and they don't like your startup, that's also progress. It's when no one knows that your startup exists that you're in trouble.
So the video part is more like a self-branding?
Maybe. It was more like I need to do something different with my life. Different than just writing code.
Yeah.
And so at the time, the models weren't as good as they are today when you watch this. So writing code was not just something that you offload to Claude at the time. You still had to write a lot of code yourself. It was very time consuming.
Do you enjoy making video?
I will say, partially, I don't enjoy editing at all.
Oh, yeah.
Editing is just the worst. But yeah, filming was perfectly fine, and I never did the interview format. But clearly, there's so much opportunity to meet other people via creating content.
Yeah.
So I don't do the YouTube videos currently, but I'm still 100% on board with this idea that if you put yourself out there, good things will happen. And YouTube is one way to do that.
Yeah. Okay. You have a few tries on the startup of the YouTube channel, and then what made you decide you want to move back to Bay Area?
Yeah, it was Anthropic.
Oh.
But it's like, to go a little bit deeper there, I'm living in Taiwan. You know, I've got my YouTube channel going very slowly, and I was like, well, I don't know what to do next. Maybe I just go on the YouTube front, or maybe I do something else, I'm not sure. And a friend of mine had joined Anthropic, and he said, you know what company is just amazing? It's Anthropic. And so at the time, right now, it probably seems super obvious. Yeah, you should go do that. But it didn't feel that obvious, because one, Anthropic was smaller than it is now. This was 2024. And I wasn't totally sure, because I had 2 kids, I was living in Taiwan. Clearly, I have the situation that is hard to change, but I listened. I really thought seriously about what that would look like, and then I went into the whole process.
So do you feel you made the right choice?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if without Anthropic, you will live in Taiwan for another 10 years?
Maybe, unclear. Because everything was leading up to something has to change. I felt I was stagnating a bit in my life.
What is the special thing for the hottest is AI? Right now it's #1 valuation. So, but by that time, what make you feel certain about this?
So it was, a big part of it was just someone I know and respect said that they were great. And that's hard to replicate, right? But there are these 2 clear companies.
So the trust between friends.
Yeah. If your friend comes to you and says, hey, I have this investment opportunity. If a stranger says that, you're like, no.
Yeah.
But if a friend says that, a friend who you trust, you can actually just, okay, here you go, let's go invest.
Yeah.
When you trust is just so hard to come by, but when you have it, everything goes so much more smoothly.
Yeah.
And then of course, when Claude Code came out, Claude Code was such like a magic tool. And I could just feel the entire industry changing because my own workflows. I've been programming for a decade or more, and if the way I program changes, then something is happening. If the way your workflow of 10 years changes, something very interesting is happening. And so that was part of the impetus. It was 1, the friend, and 2, workflows changing that have been set in stone for 10 years. That's wild.
You mentioned the Cloud Code, and as a software engineer, like working for a company who is inventing the technology to replace the software engineer, or maybe has less engineer roles for a tech company. Is there a mixed feeling about it?
I would say it's not a mixed feeling. I would say no.
Okay.
And the reason is that the job changes. So there's the question of, well, will the job completely disappear or will the job change? And so far, my feeling is that the job has changed. At least my job has changed very much. It's completely different than it used to be. We used to write so much code, and now we don't write the code. Code is written by the model.
What do you do?
So you read code, you validate, and you do a lot of team stuff. Team stuff is like
coordination,
cross-functional coordination.
Yeah.
It's making sure that the different pieces of some project are coming together, which always involves more than one person. So at a larger company, we're not in the tens of thousands, but we're in the thousands of people, and so there's lots that needs to be done. That's just person to person.
Yeah.
And so far, at least, Claude can't do that.
Yeah.
And part of that is the social dynamics of it, I think, is that if Claude messages you, are you going to read it? There's not a 100% chance that you read it or pay attention to it.
Yeah.
But if your coworker messages you, you'll read it and pay attention.
Yeah.
So the job has changed a lot. It doesn't feel like a mixed feeling because, so the other thing, some software engineers really like to build stuff. And I think some also really like the craft of writing code or coding itself. And I was in the former camp. I was wanting to build stuff. And so now the better Claude gets, the more you can build. It's never been a better time to build like all the backlog of ideas that you've had throughout time.
Got you. So you are saying like the builder type of software engineer can still has a, how to say, the advantage of for a company in the future? Like,
Maybe.
Yeah.
There's definitely a question of where all this is going
Yeah.
because things haven't stopped changing yet. Once things stabilize,
Yeah.
then we can make better predictions about the future. But for now, you use the tools that are available and you use them as best you can.
Yeah. I heard someone say for a business person come to engineer is getting easier than an engineer to the business person. Do you agree with that?
Depends on what you want to build. I would say for the 80-20 of you're building some web app, yes, 100%, because you actually don't need an engineer to get pretty far.
Yeah.
There are certainly cases where it's going to break, and then what do you do? What happens
How
with the
to
bottom?
scale? How to make a like scalable product, like
Yeah.
a like very reliable product?
Yes, scalability, reliability, and software architecture are all pieces that I haven't seen be nearly as replaced as writing code. Writing
Yeah.
code, you just don't need to do it anymore. The models from all the providers are good enough, but actually deciding what to build and how to build it is still something where human input has benefit. And I'm not saying that won't change over time, but that's currently the case right now.
Yeah.
Is that if you have a senior software engineer and Claude, you're going to get further than if you just have Claude.
That totally makes sense. So besides software engineer, like in Anthropic, I'm curious like how the people's job function is changing. So like previously in a company, like you have a department, you have this sales department, you have engineer department, and then there's a product manager. Is that also changing the job boundary?
I would say the software engineering, the job itself has changed tremendously, like I was saying, because you don't need to write the code anymore. You do need to read the code, you need to validate the code, you need to understand the code.
Yeah.
But it still took so much time in the past to actually author the code. The typing of characters in a text editor still took so much time that now you have all this other time to do things like the validation or cross-functional coordination or deciding what to build next. So something that I really about is that there is a strong culture of building from the bottoms up. It can be top down or bottoms up, but bottoms up is an option. So if you have a project, you can come and say, hey, I think this is useful, and you can try to get some adoption, try to get some usage, and that can lead to more.
Yeah.
You won't be shut down because that's not necessarily your main work stream.
Yeah. I had a feeling that the company prefer the talents that can own from end to end the results, not just building for your downstream team, but for directly for your customer. Be responsible for the results. Yeah.
I think that's where things are going if they're not there already.
Yeah.
Is that ultimately we are all responsible. The software engineer is currently the job position that is responsible. If the code doesn't work, if you have an incident, if product falls over, this is the responsibility of the software engineering team. It's obviously, or I would say this is obvious, but I'm not sure if it's obvious. It is not the model's fault or responsibility. You cannot assign accountability or responsibility to the model.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. At the end of the day, some human is going to be responsible.
Yeah. So I think Anthropic is growing so fast with the like speed, I don't know, 5 times, 10 times every year. And then I'm curious, like one day after Anthropic, will you still consider be a founder, or you will find another company has great potential?
Impossible to say. No idea. Because this is such an amazing company. I really like the company for many reasons, but I think culturally, everyone feels aligned.
Oh, what is the culture?
The culture is that the AI landscape is better with us here. Like if Anthropic didn't exist, the possibility of bad outcomes would be greater. That doesn't mean that the possibility is now zero because Anthropic is here, but Anthropic is doing their best to lead to better outcomes. And the reason that resonates so much with me is that it's not the easy thing or the obvious thing to go start another company. If you were say working in an AI lab and you want to make some changes, then a much easier thing to do is try to change the company internally. But if that doesn't work, I suspect there are plenty of people who would still try to take different angles on it rather than going and spinning up an entirely new company in the same industry.
Yeah.
And so that's why the whole Anthropic story resonated so much with me when I was interviewing, because this is not easy. This is very much not cheap to do. This is not the path of least resistance. This is the path of most resistance.
Yeah.
And the founders took it, which I respect tremendously.
Yeah, agree. So for yourself, you definitely take the untraditional path, come to where you are today. Let's say there is one student who is in college right now.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't know what is next step, because I remember we talked about the word adaptability.
Yeah.
Like it shows in your life, shows in your experience, adapt to the next change, what happening next. And then what advice will you give this person in college to develop this adaptability, make them not afraid of the changes outside of the world?
Yeah, there's that phrase, competence breeds confidence. So the most important thing is to do something and then succeed at it, I think. And so many students have probably done that when it comes to their academic performance, that they got good grades. But if you do something out in the real world, so I guess for me, my own example was that I went from having no income to being able to work as a software engineer while working remotely. And so that gave me much more confidence in my own ability to adapt, because I was over here and then I went over here. My situation changed through direct action.
Yeah.
And so there's no easy path there, but the hard path is you need to do something, you need to succeed at it, and then you're gonna feel much more positive about about change in the future, because you've handled it in the past.
Great.
So I guess the one thing that I tell college students is that college students who want to work in software is that they should go work at a startup, because people don't pay attention to startups. When I first joined a startup in San Francisco, no one was paying attention to them. They have to pay for outreach. They have to pay third-party recruiters, or they have to pay platforms that give them leads that they can try to chase down to work at the company. And so if you don't have a network or you just graduated, go to these companies that no one's paying attention to.
Yeah, and you learn all kinds of skills.
Yes, exactly. And you build that network, and you build up those people that are going to leave their current job if that job doesn't hire you in the future.
That's right. Oh, so I know you have two very small young kids.
Yes.
And then do you feel worried for next generation, what they will do for their work?
I would say I'm more excited.
Oh, you're more excited?
Yeah, I'm more optimistic about the future than pessimistic. I have a son. I have two sons, but one of them is older, and so when the older one is, say, going to college, what does college look like?
Yeah.
What does the future look like?
I'm so curious how it will be.
Yeah, even predicting 5 years out seems so
much
extreme.
Yeah, so I'm still in the progress with my MBA, and I have just a few units left. But I'm thinking, should I drop out? Because I don't feel like the education system is catching up. But also on the other side, I'm like, maybe I will give it some time, right? One day they develop a new education system. I'm so excited to try it out, how that education will be. Yeah.
But it'll take a while to get there if it exists. Or you could create it.
That's true. Maybe I can do that.
There's huge opportunity for the next educational system.
Yeah.
Even if people don't know what it looks like, I don't know what it looks like.
Okay, it's a good start.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Ian. Really nice to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.